Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I have laryngitis, so I'm using my AI assistant to do this introduction. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make 6 reusable shopping tote bags using one canvas drop cloth I purchased from Harbor Freight for $6.99. These bags are not great looking, but they are durable. I hope you enjoy this fun project.
Okay, before we get started, you'll need a few supplies. Of course, you're going to need the canvas drop cloth, this one. I have folded in half lengthwise and then folded it again so that it's folded, I guess, 4 layers, and then I rolled it up. I use the comic book boards. Also, you'll need pins, thread, scissors, measuring tape, and some kind of a marking pencil pen. Optionally, you might use a cutting ruler and a rotary cutter. I find these to be super convenient. Since I have them, I use them, but it's totally not necessary. You can make your marks, make your marks, and then use your scissors to cut it out. It's precision is not really that important with this project. Okay, I'm going to measure 24 inches of my folded fabric. It's folded 4 times on my roll. Just going to cut it straight off the roll. And now I need to get rid of these rolled edges, the finished edges that are on the drop cloth. We don't need those, so I'm just going to cut those off. And now we're going to cut 2 3-inch strips for the handles. The handles will be approximately 24 inches long. I'm going to use my handy ruler here. If you were using a pencil measuring tape, just make 3-inch marks at maybe 3 or 4 intervals, and then connect the line, and then use your scissors and follow the line. All right. The first time I did this, I tried to cut the squares out of the bottom for the boxed edge. I decided to skip that part. Right now I'm marking the top edge 1 inch down. I'm folding it over an inch and then folding that down over an inch. That's one way to do it. Another way is just mark 2 inches and then fold it in half and then and over again. Either way, it's easier when you do with an iron. That's what I should have done, but I was taking some shortcuts here, but I highly recommend using an iron. Now I'm going to find a center of this panel, and I'm going to use that marking when I attach my handles. So I'm marking the center point. You can use it with pins, or you could use it with a marker. And then I'm measuring 4 inches from center. That's where one side of the handle is going to go, and then another 4 inches to the right of center, and that is going to be for my handle other end. So I've got those marked. I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. Looks like it's time for a cookie break with my corgi. Next, we're going to make the handles. I recommend using an iron for this, but I'm hand pressing. I'm folding them in half lengthwise, and then I'm folding the raw edges to the center, and then I'll fold it over again. It's much easier on the iron. I'm not sure why I'm making it harder on myself. Honestly, the reason is because I'd have to change my camera setup to get over to the ironing board, and I'm not set up for it, so I'm just being lazy. And you'll repeat this step for both handles. And then you'll take it to the machine and then sew down both edges of each handle. Here I'm deciding on how I want to attach the handles, and what I decided to do was tuck the handle raw edge underneath the rolled upper edge, and then make one line of stitching, and then I'll flip it up and do the top line of stitching, and that should secure it in both places. Here I am at the machine. I have 3 pieces, 2 handles, and 1 main body piece. You'll notice if you are a fan of my videos, I usually do Janome Memory Craft 9850 videos. I'm in the middle of a stitch out on my embroidery machine, so I'm using my backup machine here. This is a Singer heavy duty. It's not. I mean, it's fine as a backup. Um, I'm spoiled by my nice Janome machine, but this one will work in a pinch. I'm getting ready to sew the handles. And notice that I have put my pins in upside down the direction I was going, so it was a little bit awkward trying to sew smoothly. I usually try to put the pins where the pointy edge is facing up. That way I can take my finger on top and just gradually pull it down. You'll see how I do that on this strip. So I can, if they're in the right way. Underneath my little table there, I've got a magnetic pin cushion, and that's why I just shove my pins down in there and it sticks to my magnetic pin cushion. I'm making about 1/8 of an inch seam on the folded edge first, and then on the double folded edge down both sides of the handles. I have chain stitched them, so you can see that I've got 2 of the handles are sort of connected together. I can't find my scissors. Now I'm going to show you more detail about how I attach the handles. So remember the 4 inches from center markings that we made? I'm going to attach my handle upside down, facing what is facing the inside of the bag. And on this machine, I like to move the position of my needle back and forth. It helps me make more of a close stitching to the edge. Not necessary, it's just how I do it. I have to go slow going over the handles, especially if you're using a lighter duty. Um, this part here is probably the bulkiest part of, um, of the project. Okay, so now I'm going to flip them up, and then I'm going to stitch across the upper edge of the bag, and that will secure the handle, not only at the bottom but at the top of that seam, that edge, and hopefully give some durability. This is the super thick part. Go slow. Sometimes I hand crank it if it's having a hard time. I think I'm looking for my hump jumper right here and I can't find it, of course. So I'm, just going to go slow. I found a little chopstick, so it helped me kind of press that down a little bit. The hump jumper really helps a lot. Okay, and then you're going to repeat that on the other side, just like that. So I'm working with this fabric. I noticed it is very easy to fray. So I decided on using French seams instead of zigzag or just straight stitching. Zigzag would be fine if you don't want to do this method, but I like this method. It keeps, it's a nice finish, and it adds durability, I think. So what's different about it is, we're used to sewing right sides together, and this is the opposite of that. You start sewing wrong sides together I think I did a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. The smaller the better, but you don't, but you do want to sew through all layers. And then you're going to repeat that for the other side, starting at the top and go to the bottom. Because the bottom edge is folded, it's easier to than starting at the bottom. And if things are off, then your top edges are going to be, they're not going to match. And I just find it's easier to sew top to bottom when I have a folded edge. Okay, and here pressing is important because what we're going to do then is turn this right sides together and make another stitch. There will enclose the raw edges. And you can use your scissors to trim any threads or fraying that has happened on that first stitching. So we have it turned right now, right sides together, and you can see where that first line of stitching is going to be enclosed. And we're going to try and do a 1/4 inch or whatever works to completely encase that first stitching. So I usually do a scant 1/4 inch, and then depending on the thickness of the fabric, a 1/4 inch on the second seam. If it's super thick fabric, I'll do a 1/2 inch. I use my chopstick here to help keep that fabric flat so that I get a nice, to eliminate some of the bulk. Trim my seams and then repeat on the other side. And now we're going to box the bottom of this bag because right now it just looks like a big pillowcase. So the way that I prefer to do it is to create a square point. So the side seam is going to line up with the fold in the bottom of the bag, and you're going to fold it into a point. And then you're going to take a ruler, and I believe I measured from corner to corner at 9 inches, then I drew a line. You may not have noticed, but I actually have this turned the wrong side out. This should be wrong sides together at this point, and I have them right sides together. But after drawing the line, assuming you have it the right way, you're going to stitch on that line as closely to it on it as possible, all the way from corner to corner, and then repeat the exact same thing on the other side. trim your threads off, and you're going to trim this as close to the stitching as you can without going through it. You don't want to get too close to it and actually accidentally cut your stitching. You're going to cut it, trim it close on both sides, and then you're going to turn it, throw that away, and then stitch to enclose that the bottom seams. This is where I realized that I have actually started with right sides together instead of wrong sides together, but it turned out okay. It's a shopping bag. All right, I'm all done, and I wanted to show you the finished product. I used my Cricut machine and cut out this design and ironed it on because I just couldn't stand it being unembellished. I thought this was kind of cute. And here's another one. Since I always forget my shopping bags, it helps to keep them in the trunk of your car. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this project. It sure would help me if you could like and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you can get notified when I put out new videos.